one, a blip and blunder take. So I was recording how I think what's been happening since the 27th of February has been a blip and blunder situation, a misunderstanding based situation. So what I've realized with this is that from my conversation with a young lady earlier, I have been reflecting quite a bit because I realized that what I was told yesterday about her interpretation of our conversation is a misunderstanding because she only had a few minutes with me to take in. And actually, I had a moment with an ambulance crew about this very same situation. It needs time. It needs time to understand what's going on. And so now I understand the people who are trying to force information out of me and yet do not have the capacity to take it in and to understand it in the little time they have with me. So that's the only understanding that I have of these people. And goodness gracious, I wish they could be on this live so that they also understand me. Because where I'm coming from is years of going through things that I didn't know were actually happening. And then hearing people confessing, plotting, planning, reflecting, and even sometimes showing off about the things that they're doing. The penny dropped on the 31st of July when I realized that it wasn't just coincidences that there were people living right next door discussing things that were consistent with the things that were happening in my flat. So on the 31st of July, when everything in my flat, electric-wise, came to a standstill, excuse me, so my phone, my laptops, when everything came to a standstill, and the person, one of the people next door, got really upset at my attempts to reboot all my gadgets to bring them back into normal function. And in being upset, they sounded so entitled and so aggressive about, look, she's trying to shame me. She's trying to hassle a hacker. She's trying to make me look stupid. She's trying to make me look dumb. Do you know when you hear someone ranting and raving like that and you're in your own property alone? I don't know what your response would be, but mine was to ignore and knuckle down and carry on trying. I couldn't believe those things were happening to me. But what I did was keep knuckling down, keep on trying to reconnect my phone, reconnect my laptop. Because I had important fish to fry. My property was at stake. There are some property linked accounts that are at stake. One of them I've lost control of. And there were discussions right next door about that very account. There were discussions about many things. There was a lot of wait until she sees, wait until she sees, wait until she sees. That week, a big, large, grey towel, a bath towel, disappeared for a few hours. And after hearing people talking about wait until she sees and realizing that they were owning up to bringing all my electrical communication to a standstill, to the extent that it meant I couldn't even call the police. It meant Well, yeah. Basically, by the time your phone can only call 999, you're still in a good position. By the time your phone is completely disabled and people are owning up to being able to having such capability, you've got to pay attention. So what got my attention was this man suddenly saying, because I've known these people who live next door to me for quite a while, and they had been quite intimidating, very, very intimidating. Now, by the time I came back to my property, I wasn't having any of it. I wasn't going to be intimidated and I was not going to pay any attention to them. So I guess that's what sets me apart from maybe the expected reaction. That maybe I would go out tearing my hair out, crying my eyes out. Oh. No, that was not going to be me anymore. In fact, I probably didn't do that because I really needed to figure out that really the people next door are really the ones intimidating me. They're still the same people. What's happened to them? What's prompted them to react this way towards me? I've always lived there alone. Now, I did have a partner. He's an ex-partner now. I did have someone I was living with briefly. I then was starting to find out that they had actually intimidated him. They had convinced him one day to walk past the patio and walk to their property. And somehow I actually think they had hacked his university results and possibly messed with his visa application. We had plans, but they fell through. He got poisoned. I don't know if he'll ever talk about it, but he got poisoned the week we were about to fly away. We had to spend it in Queen's Hospital. Thank goodness he's still alive. That's all I can be thankful for. I've moved on anyway. So, with the brief things that I've just mentioned now, when you talk about the criminal side, the admissions of these people, what they've been doing, half an hour is not enough to discuss that for someone to get their head around it. You know how you can watch a movie and then you're discussing it among yourselves? What was that? Because someone's missed it. You know how you can huddle while you watch a movie, or you then talk about it later? Or maybe you're lucky enough to be watching it on Netflix or YouTube, and you have the luxury of rewinding something and replaying it. I did it just now. I was watching My Dear Witness, the beginning itself. I rewound it so many times. Just when George Needleman is standing at the door and discussing with someone on the phone, and then he walks into his wife, his second wife, and his mother fighting about her medication. That bit, okay, maybe I was a bit distracted. It happens too in conversations. So I've had conversations while I'm here. I'm at Barley Lane. I've had conversations while I'm here. And on reflection, I've realized I think we're having plenty of misunderstandings before we even get to the nitty-gritty of why I'm actually here, because the things we end up discussing are criminal issues which people cannot get their head around. Things that have been happening for 5 years. For me, according to my knowledge, but sometimes when you really look at the background of where these people are coming from and where you really listen to what they're saying, this is more than 5 years of drama against my life. And it's not just drama, it's criminal drama. Coming from a simple person's hatred of me. Someone's invested their life. Someone's invested their whole life around ruining mine simply because they saw me sing on a stage once. Okay, maybe twice, maybe more. I was on stage quite a bit. But where this is coming from, and whether people maybe are tired of working for this person, are tired of being the, what do you call it, the snipers. They've started confessing, or maybe it's not that they're tired, they're just entitled and feel like they're getting away with it, so they don't mind me hearing their discussions, their confessions. They don't mind announcing to other people what they're going to do, because who's going to believe me anyway? And so far, I must say, they have gotten away with it. Because I'm in here at Barley Lane. I've been injected twice. The misunderstandings are very difficult to deal with. Make no mistake, even though I am understanding that half an hour, 15 minutes is not enough for someone to document the truth and understand it and grasp it. The truth of years of abuse, of crime. Not enough for someone to understand that someone can be so bold to actually now stand against the abusers. It doesn't mean I understand that you can be dismissive of me when I stand for myself. I've just started my reflection and I've understood that, okay, fair enough. 15 minutes, a brief conversation, is not enough to put your head round. But I know deep down inside, any human being can think and actually realize there's something going on here. The only thing that I've understood is that there is a consistent response, a denial response, a dismissive response to what I've said, to what I've expressed to people. If they all sat down and huddled and thought about the things that I'm saying to them, they would actually realize that, wait a minute, could it be that she is actually making sense and that we don't have the time to grasp what she's talking about? And I only say this now because I've actually had that conversation with myself first and realized that, okay, if you don't have the time and if your capacity is limited. I had a conversation earlier with someone who asked me if I'm a script writer. She picked it up right away. She's probably a script writer too. But if you don't have that capacity to take things in, then you most likely will just rubbish and dismiss someone like me. My intelligence might be intimidating. I can't ignore that. My confidence for someone who's going through this might be unbelievable. But I'm sorry, I can't be understanding of that. Because should you have gone through what I'm going through, I would expect non-judgmental ears, non-judgmental hearing of what I'm going through. Now, this video is me reflecting and offering my non-judgmental reflection of the misunderstanding. Now I have to wait and see how I will be perceived for acknowledging other people's shortcomings. Good God, God forbid people use this against me. Too many mistakes have already happened. Simply because of being dismissive and not being courageous enough to see through the truth, courageous enough to challenge other decisions gone before, courageous enough to stop the wheels in motion, trying to push other people off a cliff, courageous enough to stand down when you realize that someone else who you probably think should be too vulnerable and at your mercy courageous enough to realize when someone in that condition has actually said something that makes sense and just acknowledge it and just realize that, wait a minute, maybe in this case, we need to defend this woman. So now I have to wait and see what my courage to reflect, observe, and understand other people's weakness, and probably my weakness, the delay in me recognizing other people's shortcoming. Time has been our disadvantage on both ends. And I say disadvantage because there's no way forcing me into a vegetative state with medication will go unnoticed. I've had to end up showing the staff here videos of my excrement, of vomiting. I've had to go to the extent of showing them tissue, bloodied from my nose. Because of this medication, what I have not managed to do is show them tissue bloodied from my private area. It may be linked, it may not be linked, but one of the side effects of the medication is to interrupt period, menstruation period. So I don't know if the extra bleeding was a sign of what it causes, because it causes spaced out periods. I suddenly had another period right after I had one. So now we wait, and I will expect courage for people to stand up to the truth, because you are killing me slowly. Oh gosh, pun not intended. The medicating, the dismissive attitude, the taking offense to me wearing prescription sunglasses. Quite to the contrary, you may have thought that I'm showing off when I'm wearing these, but these are prescription lenses. Because the normal clear ones that transition when the light dims were broken in a burglary. Unfortunately, in one of the most important meetings of my life, the person who was a judge in that situation got so pissed off at the sight of me wearing these glasses. Perhaps she thought I was going in there for a show. I had a drink with me too. It was immediately taken off me. That was not the reason I had it. That was not the reason I had the glasses. I tried to express myself, but it seemed I was already too late on arrival. Will someone stop the wheels in motion? Will someone save my life from these people, from this situation? Will you save me from yourself? I've tried.